If you would have asked me 7 years ago, before I was even in real estate school, and you would told me I would be doing all this, I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to stay at this job and just work on getting a rental property every once in a while. I just took a chance because it was something I wanted to get into.
Welcome to the Real Pulse of Real Estate, where we discuss the true ins and outs of the housing market. Welcome back to this episode of Real Pulse of Real Estate. We have Cameron Berens with us today. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing great. Thanks for
Awesome.
having me on here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I appreciate you being able to make it. So this first episode, we really like to kind of get into why real estate, how long have you been involved, all that sort of stuff. So I'll ask you questions as we go through.
Okay.
But let's just go ahead and start. Why real estate?
So my story was, I started out, I had a normal 9-to-5 job. It was actually 7 to 3. But, you know, your normal 40-hour-a-week job, I did something completely different. I worked in a chemical lab doing testing on plastics. So nothing to do with real estate.
That is a very unique, different thing.
Yeah, very different. And I really loved my job, but I didn't like the set schedule that I had to conform to. And I was in a room with no windows, very limited contact with people. So I started, I don't remember, I think it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know this is like the most cliche thing for real estate agents to say or entrepreneurs, but I listened to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm like, this sounds really cool. And then I got into reading about rental property. And then my father and I purchased our first fixer-upper property that we then turned into a rental. And this was back in 2015, beginning of 2015.
So this was actually before you were licensed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is what led me to become a real estate agent. We got that property and we loved it. We had a great time doing it. And then we were looking for our next property. And somehow, when you're talking with my real estate agent, trying to figure out what we wanted, turned into an interview about why I should get my license and just be on their team.
Yeah.
The thought hadn't, like, it wasn't the first time that I had thought about it. And him saying it, because it was a top team in the area, and basically saying, hey, if you want to do this, we'll support you. We'll get you started. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll start out doing this part-time. At the time, I had 2 kids. Young kids. I mean, I still have the kids, not at the time, but they were young
we
kids.
should clarify that.
Yeah,
They
still
are
have
still
the
around.
kids. Yeah. I had a family to support and things to think about. So, in the other company I was at wanted me to go back to college to finish getting my degree and wanted me to advance there. And I was doing pretty well for my age. I hadn't finished college yet, and I was already making over $50,000 a year. I mean, I was 24 years old at the time. To me, I was like, yeah, I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
And then right as I was finishing getting my real estate license, I had a conversation with what would soon be my team leader that I was going to be on. And he basically said, you know, if you jump into this full time, we won't let you fail. You put in the work. They could tell I was a hard worker. I wanted to put in the work. So I passed my real estate licensing exam on a Friday and put in my 2 weeks the next Monday.
Wow.
I hadn't even sold a house yet, but we had some money saved up and I just felt confident about it. And so long answer to why I got my real estate license. I really wasn't looking to it first. I just wanted to expand my rental portfolio. And then I just took a chance because it was something I wanted to get into. It felt like a good, doing it for me. And now looking back, I mean, I just wish I would have got licensed sooner, honestly.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a lot of people's answers of, I wished I had just done it sooner at this point. Because there are those people who, yes, they do start part-time. I mean, how many people do we know that were either like school teachers or cops or something that are looking to retire or leave school or whatever, and they're starting it part-time and everything. And I totally get that, but there is a big difference between just jumping into it full-time. Now you do need that safety net of actually having funds to pay for groceries and everything.
To emphasize on that, I had a safety net. I had some money saved, and my ex-wife at the time, but she was working, at the time wife, but ex-wife now, she was working part-time. So we had a little bit of income coming in. So for everyone just thinking I just quit my job and just jumped in, no, I had a safety net and a little bit of income coming in. But I liked that approach of, I don't remember who it was, but the story of the leader that, burned the ships and you have no way to go back. Yeah. We have a tendency, I think, to think worst case scenario. So if anyone's listening to this that's not in real estate or maybe is part-time, I'm sure the thing that's crossing your mind is like, worst case scenario, what if it doesn't work out? Yeah. Well, what if it doesn't work out? I could have gotten another job, especially right now. There's no shortage of finding jobs right now. And that was my thought process was I will regret not trying this. Yeah. And whereas if I failed, I could have gone back. I could have gotten a warehouse job. I could have gotten I knew my fallback was the company I was at. They had a production, and I'm like, worst case scenario, I'll come back in production here and start in this level. And then, so there's always, whatever your worst case you're thinking is, it's probably not that bad, actually.
I agree with you, because a lot of my motivating factors are, I don't want the what ifs to eat me alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that was the same for you, of if I don't pour into this, I'm just going to be thinking, what if I had the entire time?
Yeah.
So with the warehouse job, you put in your 2 weeks just a couple of days after getting your license. By the way, let me ask you this. Did you pass your real estate license exam the first time?
So Stephanie, for those that don't know, my wife, Stephanie, she's also a real estate agent. I joke about this all the time to her because she did not pass her first time. I did pass my first time.
Okay. See, it took me 3 times and that's why I asked.
Yeah. I don't know how, because I was taking the test and I was 4 questions. I'll never forget it, because I was 4 questions in, and that you get this little like old Casio calculator. You're not allowed to use your phone. And I remember doing the math. Okay, how many questions are there? How many can I miss and still get my license? Because I was certain I already missed the first 4 questions. And turns out I actually did really good. I got 100% on the national and a 94% on the state.
There you go.
I'll brag about that forever, because it's the only test I've probably ever done that good out of my life.
And that's totally fair. But I do like to ask people that, because there are so many people who really get flustered about the exams and about school and everything. And truly, what really have we used from what we learned in real estate school?
Yeah. I'm not a real estate broker, so I'll openly say this. You don't use most of anything on there. We tell people all the time that are thinking about getting into real estate, and they get in school and they're like, this isn't what I thought real estate was going to be. It's not. Real estate school is nothing like real estate. And then throw in my scenario about the window. Yeah, I toot my own horn. I passed it the first time. But like you said, you didn't. Stephanie didn't. I know there are dozens of more people I know personally that didn't. It doesn't matter. It's like if you went your first 2 years of college at a community college, but then finished your last 2 years at UK or Louisville or something, nobody pays attention to where you did it. They're just going to pay attention to what you've been doing, where you're at right now. Like, no broker that I'm aware of is going to say, well, what did you get on your exams? They're like, oh, you got the license? You seem like a normal person. Come on over.
Yeah, I've never had a listing appointment where they said, well, what did you score on national?
Right.
And if they did, I would let them know that it took me 4 times to do it, but I still passed.
No, I'd be like, what was your GPA in high school? Oh, you don't remember either? Or you don't want to talk about it either? Exactly.
Yeah, no, truly. So, okay, so you passed first time. Congratulations, overachiever.
Thank you.
From there, what really has led you to where we are now? You're an agent at EXP. We've been licensed almost the same amount of time, right? Because I was licensed late 2016.
Yeah, mine will be I officially got my license on October 20th of 2015.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just 1 year ahead of me, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. So this will be 7-year mark this October. So yeah, like I mentioned, I started out on a team. My thought process behind that too was I saw the value that the team provided, and it gave me what I saw as a little bit of a learning curve. I knew I was going to be around these other successful agents. They're going to provide a little bit of leads and this and that. So that's why I chose to start with the team. I was with the team for almost 4 years. And then at this point, my now wife, Stephanie, and we had already been dating, and she was a real estate agent at a different company. There was a little bit of what we felt like conflict of interest was starting to go on, because we worked in the same home office as well. So inevitably we're hearing things. And so we just thought, okay, at some point, either you're coming to where I'm at or I'm coming to where you're at.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I came to where she was at. I switched brokerages to Keller Williams, and that's where we formed a team together. So it all like just organically, all this happened too. Now that I'm saying it, like I didn't plan for any of this.
Yeah, no. And it really just sort of was fluid.
Yeah.
You, right. It just sort of clicked every time.
Yeah. So we got together. I went solo, even though we were kind of working side by side. We were technically solo. And then we decided, hey, let's form a team together. We formed a team together. Our team we had a transaction coordinator, which for those that don't know, it's like an a la carte admin service basically per transaction. And then again, our next step was we grew out of necessity. Our transaction coordinator was pulled away from us. And then we're like, all right, we're going to either jump to another transaction coordinator or let's hire a full-time employee.
Yeah.
And so we hired a full-time employee to be our full-time admin. And then we did switch companies to the company we're now at, EXP Realty. Then we got our first team agent. So not necessarily a buyer's agent. She is able to do her own listings, things like that. But yeah, that's kind of the summary, the Spark Notes version of where we got to where we're at right now. And now it's again grown into something we didn't even think it would. We do a lot of mentoring and training agents on top of actively selling real estate. And then we have a team agent. We got someone responsible for paying their salaries and admin. And then I'm sure we'll get into this later, but then we also do rental properties. So if you would have asked me 7 years ago, before I was even in real estate school, and you would told me I would be doing all this, I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to stay at this job and just work on getting a rental property every once in a while.
Like you said, it was very fluid changes for you, and I think they all made sense. So remind me, you guys are B&B home advisors now at EXP, correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah.
Because at one point, was it Real Estate Power Couple, or was that just what your guys' Facebook was?
So that's just like, so I know we make this confusing, but we've got like 2 different taglines that we go by. One is our local real estate team, because we are licensed in the state of Kentucky. So when we do any of our marketing advertising for our real estate business, it's B&B Home Advisors. And the thought behind that was, it was before we were married. Both of our last names start with B. So it's like, all right, regardless of if we get married or whatever, it's B&B. We don't have to change anything in the future. So B&B Home Advisors is what we did with our team. And then we do lots of social media marketing. And for that, we still have our team stuff, but we also just push like our own brand, like on YouTube and stuff like that. It's kind of like, we do more than just real estate. We do like relationship stuff, mindset stuff, like all that kind of good stuff. So that's where the kind of like the 2 differences is, which I don't know. I know our digital marketing guys like maybe just make it easier to have one. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. Team name, B&B Home Advisors.
Got you. With B&B Home Advisors and everything else, let me go ahead and back up with you talking about bringing on a whole other agent onto the team. I'm at transaction coordinator level right now. I'm not at other agents or anything like that. And then I've, of course, got the lovely Brian over here, who I'm pointing to that nobody can see because this is audio, who takes care of, does absolute magic with all of my social media and everything, with videos and all that. So I do have what you would consider a team as an individual agent.
Yeah.
When it comes to bringing on a whole new agent to a team, one, what was that like? And 2, what was the decision of like, did you guys talk about what you wanted prior? Because there are teams who they'll bring on an agent, but they're buyer agent only or listing specialist is what we hear a lot, right? So the fact that you guys are allowing them to do both, was that a conversation you had that you just wanted that, or did this person just naturally fit?
So I know there's a lot of big successful teams, mega teams, that would probably disagree with what I'm about to say, and some that maybe would agree. But I started out as a team agent. I was allowed to take my own listings.
Okay.
I co-listed with my team leader, but I still was allowed to take listings. Stephanie, when she started, she was, I believe, just listings. It was one or the other, but she was only allowed to do one. And something we talked about when we were forming the team was we actually wrote down a list of all the pros of when we were on a team and all the cons that we saw when we were on a team. And again, it's somebody else may disagree and say that's not a con. That's just the way it's supposed to be. But one of the things that we saw was I wouldn't want to be on a team where I couldn't take my own listings.
Yeah.
And maybe we could be more, I don't know, successful or whatever if we did divide it singularly buyer agent, singularly listing agent. But that's really what it came down to is, would I want to do that? No. So I'm not going to ask someone else to do it.
I agree. There are some teams that are going to be shaking their head when they hear that, no, I'm having them do both. I think the nice thing about real estate is it all depends on the person. And as long as you're sticking to your guns, that's where the success comes from, right? Because there are teams who have agents doing both listing and buying and are nailing it. There are teams that have, you are only a buyer's agent and you only show buyers, nailing it. And there are teams that have listing specialists and are nailing it.
Yeah.
It's all across the board, and it just works for what is best for you.
Yeah, there's really, it's the same as like growing your real estate business individually. Is there's so many different ways to do it. There's not really a wrong or right way. And like I said, we both know highly successful teams in our area that have just buyer's agents and just listing agents. So there's obviously that's not a wrong way to do it. Our way, I came from a successful team early on that did it the way that we do it. But that's what we like about it, is ultimately it's just the way that you want to do it. As long as you stick to it and you have a game plan and you do it the right way, whatever way you're doing it, do that the right way. I think you can be successful at it either way. Just having a plan is a good thing too.
And I think kind of like what you said was, if I didn't want to have this, I wouldn't make someone else do it. I think that's another very important thing of like, there are a lot of agents who will hire just because they want to toss this thing at somebody else and never touch it. It really doesn't work out as well.
Yeah, that's a big thing for us. And I think I've only become this way because I've become so confident in myself and my business. And we're definitely at the point now, we don't do anything to an extent that we don't really want to do.
Yeah.
We don't do anything that we feel like is going to compromise our integrity. I've lost a client this past, I don't know if it was this year at the end of last year, because I refused to work with that person. And it would have been a really big paycheck too. But I refused to work with that person because I felt like I don't want anyone to even know I'm associated with this person. So that was a really cool feeling too. And then circling that back to the team, I don't want to ask someone to do something that I personally wouldn't want to do. And it's the same with like, I don't like door knocking.
Yep.
I would never force someone to door knock, but like our team agent, I would never force her to do that. But then I need to provide her another way or explain another way that you can get business. So
yeah. And I do think that is important because like we talked about with teams, there's success in different ways, but same with the marketing, right? And we can dig into that a little bit later, but I will never door knock because I know like my house is my sanctuary. I don't want to be bothered by the pest control people that are going to knock and tell you that, hey, I'm servicing so-and-so down the road. I don't want that. And I don't want to put that feeling on others.
Right.
So it is important that, okay, that's great if you're not going to do it. And that's great that you're talking to your agent that's joined the team that, okay, if you're not going to do that, great. We have to find something else that you will do that can still drum up leads and everything. So Cameron, I think this was a great first episode. I really appreciate you sharing everything for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, this felt like this was really good. And I'm excited to start to unpack some more stuff in the next episodes.
So definitely go ahead and check out our next episodes. We've got 3 more coming at you. And Cameron, if you have wanting people to check out your social media, where would they go?
You can pretty much find me on anything by just searching my name because there's not many of me in the world, apparently. I don't have a common name, but my first name, Cameron, my last name, Berens, Berens. If you type that in Google, you will find everything with me. And then Stephanie and I on Facebook, it's BB Home Advisors is our Facebook handle. But yeah, type in my name, you'll find me on pretty much anything.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, Cameron, thank you for being on. And I'm looking forward to packing some other stuff out.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Real Pulse of Real Estate. If you're looking for more content, follow me on Instagram or TikTok at I'm Cron Burgundy or Facebook at Adam Cron Realtor. Can't wait for you to join us next week.